So when you take that courageous step to do something, take action, and then you feel sick, your mind is not thinking about, well, if I carry on, I'm going to feel better. You're already feeling sick, and now you're feeling sicker. You're in the minuses now, you know? So yeah. I think that's the bit where you just stop. You just go, what's the point?
I just want to say that I know what it feels like when you're kind of stuck. And I think it's easy to fall back on the things you know, because in one way or another, you already know how to exist with your autoimmunity in your life, right? You already know that balance, even though it's not good. You know how to get through day to day with that balance. So that's the biggest challenge, is having to change that to this unknown.
It's just now that I realize that you need to commit long term. This is a long term thing. Like literally you're entering into a marriage with yourself, a healthy marriage with yourself. It's a lifestyle disease, and you need to do all these little changes consistently for a long period of time. This is it. That's what I've learned. Words are power, so dig deep and allow your own words to heal you. Here is an example of mine to help you. So this is what I wrote. It's so I wrote, I'm one of a kind, I live bright, I live to inspire and to be inspired, and I strive every day to live from my heart. I stay strong and full of faith no matter what I'm going through.
Healing graves holistically, there's not much out there at all. We're kind of in this unknown territory. So we're inviting you guys into our personal journey. We may not know all the answer, but guess what? We're going to try to figure it out as much as we can.
Hello, my name is Meron and I'm based in the UK, and I'm the founder of Loving Me Kindly.
And my name is Priscila and I'm based in the United States, and I'm the founder of Healing Unapologetically.
Together we are co-hosting our podcast, Thyroid Sisters Navigate Graves' Disease. Over the last few years, since being diagnosed with Graves' disease, we have fought to gain our lives back and are both living medication-free.
We are not medical experts. However, through our experience of dealing with this disease, we have learned so much and want to share our journey of healing and self-discovery.
We have come to realize that trusting our instincts and intuition has helped us lead healthier lives, and our goal with these podcasts is to empower and inspire you.
Hello and welcome to season 2 of the Graves, not the Graves Sisters, Thyroid Sisters Navigating Graves' Disease podcast. Today's episode is a huge topic and one that I cannot wait to dissect. I think that this really is one of the challenging parts of having an autoimmune journey. So hopefully that this episode will be helpful. And the topic today that we're going to talk about is called commitment, or committing to your commitments. That word commitment. It's not an easy word. Hopefully by the end of this episode, these episodes help me as well, because I'm still in it. And this is something that I feel like I've got better at over the years. But if I was better at it in the beginning, then I might have lessened a lot of the challenges that I faced. So the topic of commitment, if I was to say what is that, and basically also what we're going to do today is myself and Priscilla are going to share our commitment manifesto, or it could be an empowerment manifesto, just something that you say to yourself whenever you're going through those challenging moments to pick yourself back up. So creating a commitment to health manifesto is a powerful way to articulate your dedication to leading a healthier life. It can serve as a personal declaration, guiding your actions and inspiring others to join you on the journey toward improving your well-being. That's why it is so important. I'm not sure if because we always do different things, which is always interesting to me. I wrote out my commitment to health manifesto. And I don't know if you wrote it out, or you just want to share what commitment looked like to you during your journey.
I think I'm going to share what I've learned, because I think that that's going to bring a more like hands-on experience to the commitment. So I don't know how to explain it. It's kind of like what to expect while you are committing to the health journey. So that way you don't feel discouraged. So that's going to be my angle, because this is what I wish I knew before I started. So I think that Meron, you're going to be sharing
the commitment, like, okay, I'm starting today. This is what I'm committing to myself to do. And then I'm going to share what I learned from that commitment that I did when I healed Graves' disease. So I hope that makes sense.
I love it. I love it. I love that we have these different approaches all the time, because that's how we learn from each other as well. So that's really good. And I'll also share the challenges as well. So yeah, I'm curious to know what your commitment journey was like. Yeah.
It was just honestly figuring it out as we go, which is why, or figuring it out as I went with my health journey, along my health journey. But I think this is why this podcast or this episode is so important, because a lot of people don't realize that it takes a conscious commitment. And many times people just say, I want to get well, or I want to make changes. I want, or I want to reach these goals. Those are very, like just blanket statements we can make. And when you're on the health journey, it has to be more than just a statement. It really has to be a commitment. And, so this is kind of bringing to light how intentional you have to be with that commitment to self. So
that's so true. That word intentional. I love that word, and I try to live my life intentionally in all aspects. But I think that because you're activating it, then if you're intentional, you're activating it, you're consciously working with it.
Like I was saying, I am going to be sharing my commitment to health, and then what I learned through my experience. So how my commitment to my healing journey looked like, I want to say that I didn't have what you and I are kind of talking about now, like a manifesto to self on this commitment. It was purely based on my will to want to get better and my will to want to improve my overall well-being. Now, the reason why I mentioned that is because obviously we both were diagnosed with Graves' disease. And if you're listening to this, you most likely have Graves' disease as well, or thyroid disease, or maybe any autoimmune disease. But I felt that in my mind, it was easier for me to tackle my overall well-being than just Graves' disease, because my doctors were telling me Graves' disease, the cause of Graves' disease is unknown. I was just doing my online research, and there was just very little information. So I couldn't base my commitment on just my thyroid health. I had to commit to my overall health. And I started to address every ailment, everything that I felt I was, that was sucking the quality of life in my day to day. So that would be like weight, nutrition, spending time outdoors, career, finance, emotion, my environment. Like I started to focus on everything. I wanted to improve all areas of my life, spirituality. I didn't just focus on just Graves' disease. And I think this helped my mind be able to not get fixated with like my thyroid results, or fixated with, am I getting better or not? Because the commitment that I was making to myself was in all areas of my life. That, let's say if my thyroid labs were stagnant and were the same, it didn't matter, because I was already seeing improvement on this area of my life. Does that make sense? And I felt like that helped my will continue to be strong throughout the healing process, because it taught me to be patient. If I wasn't seeing improvement in this area, I was seeing it over here, or, in different areas. And, so that really, what I learned is healing is a whole body, journey. I feel like it's going to be harder if you are just specifically wanting to focus on one part of your body, because the body doesn't work like that. Your thyroid health isn't just your thyroid health. It's all interconnected with your whole body, and everything works together. So I want to say that that's probably the number one approach that I took with my commitment to healing.
That's why I find you so inspiring. And I'm just so glad our paths crossed, because your approach is, I wonder how many people did the same thing, because I certainly didn't. I was fixated on this thing called grave that's inside my body, and fixated on all the little things. I did not see the whole at all until I learned about functional medicine. But to be able to begin that way, I mean, how did that come to you, to see it as a whole and not get so because it bogs you down. It does bring you down. When you're looking at the little things, and I tried this and my thyroid result went this way and my bloods look like this, and then it's always so good to see the whole picture. And then that means that your focus is larger than the disease, almost, because it's on your whole body, and you're just keeping on that target. So no matter the ups and downs along the way, you know that overall you're doing everything for your entire body. I love that. I think you really are inspiring, Priscilla. I don't know if you realize that, but that is really such an interesting approach. I love your approach to things. So,
well, if you listen,
I did that basically.
But, interesting enough, our previous episode was on expectation versus perspective. And I can easily go back and recall all the expectations that I walked into my doctor's office expecting that this was going to be a quick fix. And then having that crash and realizing this wasn't a quick fix. The medicine did not mesh at all with me. It opened my eyes to this new reality, and I had to now gain a new perspective. I feel like that first episode, if you guys listen to it, it's going to make sense why now here with my commitment to health, it looked like a whole body approach, because I had to get the right perspective to begin with. I had to learn that, I had to learn what the doctor could do for me and what the doctor couldn't do for me, how my reaction to medication wasn't, it was a bad reaction, and that possibility now exists. And then I had to take all that information, and instead of I guess that's what gave me this perspective. So when it came to committing to my health journey, I realized I can't just worry about Graves' disease because it was so complex. Even my doctor couldn't explain the causes or why this was happening to me. It was so complex that I just had to focus on what I knew wasn't. And that was like the other areas of my life, like where I was sharing, where I still had control over. I didn't have control over Graves at all. When I was diagnosed, I had no idea what was making it worse. I did commit to a journey to discovering my root causes. I think that that is one thing that I did very specific to Graves, was learning and discovering the root causes of it. But I also gained control of the other areas of my life that I still have that ability to change. You get what I'm saying? Like at that time, I didn't have the ability to change Graves like this, but I did in other areas of my life. So I just kind of gained control of areas where I still had control. I kind of I gave myself to learning when it came to Graves' disease. That's how I took control of it. It was just like a learning process, discovering my root cause triggers, trying to find resources that can give me hope and different answers that I wasn't getting. And So
when you said that, I immediately thought of the Serenity Prayer, and it's something that I should read more often, because it really does give me that peace, because it's grant me the serenity to accept the things I can't change, which you did, the courage to change the things that I can, which you did, and then the wisdom to know the difference, which obviously you figured out. And sometimes it's as simple as that, but it's so hard when you're emotionally in it to think so clearly. That's the problem. and all you want to do is get well, and you're so desperate, so your emotions are from a desperate place. So that's why I find it interesting, your approach, because your approach is from a clear space. It's quite clear. You have that clarity, which I think is so interesting. And did you go through times when it was challenging? Like, what did things trigger you, and did you spiral at all at any point? And what did you do to like get back from that?
So yeah, throughout my health healing journey, I had a lot of, my body was going through many phases of detoxing. And I want to say that the detox process was very, very harsh. That's why I learned that going from 0 to 60 isn't always the answer, because sometimes your body is not ready for the release of those toxins, and it can cause a little bit of pain and harm if you're not prepared, So, surprisingly, the gentler changes that I've made in my healing journey really did impact my thyroid health, like diet, gentle movement. Cause at that point I couldn't do anything that, would, make my heart race too fast. I needed to keep it down just as a precaution. So I was doing just strength training, walking, also like, my environmental toxins. So for me, chemical toxins were a huge root cause trigger for my Graves' disease. I'm very sensitive to the halogens, which are chlorine, fluoride, and bromine. And overall, those three are very similar molecule to iodine. And there's many episodes where we kind of hint and talk about that topic. But using a shower filter for me and minimizing those halies improved my thyroid health significant. So for me, that was a huge underlining root cause trigger. So about halfway through my healing journey, I was able to go into remission, but I still had a lot more work to do because I was having to combat candida overgrowth, which I got from the antibiotics I took like right after being diagnosed with Graves, because I got really sick from methimazole. Methimazole completely killed my immune system, and I was sick for about 2 months, and I had to take antibiotics, and that caused candida overgrowth. So I had to do that, which put me on a very strict diet, and the detox process from that definitely set me back, where I would have days where it was very hard for me to function or to even get out of my bed. I had a lot of pressure, just a lot of facial pressure, liver pain, gallbladder pain. I had to be very gentle. I was overtaxing my system when I removed sugar from my diet because my body was so addicted to it. And so I did that. And then I want to say that my menstrual cycle started to like improve significantly as well during that time. So I was also going through hormonal changes. There's just a lot of things that I wouldn't say were setting me back. Maybe someone might think of it because they were unpleasant experience, but they were just experiences that I had to get through to overcome those underlying health issues.
How are you going through those through that detoxification? The courage that it takes to say, right, I'm taking this into my own hands. I'm listening to the doctors, but I know that there's a lot of things that I need to do to change my life. It takes, and you're already feeling sick. Remember, you're feeling like you're at 0%, 2%, whatever, or 1%. And the courage it takes to even have that thought, and then to take action and do something. And then I remember doing things like taking mercury out of my dental, taking all the mercury out, and then going and thinking, because this expectation, right? You're going to feel better, but no, you're going to feel so awful. And then you're going to feel better, but you don't realize that you actually are going to feel better after however long that it takes your body to get rid of that. So when you take that courageous step to do something, take action, and then you feel sick, your mind is not thinking about, well, if I carry on, I'm going to feel better. You're already feeling sick, and now you're feeling even sicker. You're in the minuses now. you know? So
Yeah.
I think that's the bit where you just stop, you just go, what's the point? What, you don't think of the good that's going to come later, because you just feel it. Your body is just not in a good state already, and it's even a worse state now. So how do you,
Well,
like, this is the thing of committing to that health
yeah.
journey, but feeling crap.
One thing that stood out when you were explaining that was, I think the one thing that helped me push forward, even though I was feeling awful with the changes. And I think having that methimazole reaction, that bad reaction to that medication, was so severe that it trumped my Graves' disease symptoms. It trumped my sugar detox. It trumped hormonal changes, all of that. It trumped all of those underlying health issues that I was dealing with, because it was the worst experience of feeling sick that I've ever felt. So maybe for me, that was like a blessing in disguise, because I was trying at this point to avoid anything that would ever make me feel like that again. And for me, medication had a huge question mark, because I've never had a severe reaction to any medication, or I've never had an allergic reaction to anything that, medication wise. So it was very strange to experience that, and then to experience a severe feeling of illness on it. So it just helped me push forward on all the other changes that I was making, because I knew that was not an option. I did not want to feel like that again. I couldn't imagine a life of having those highs and lows on medication. I just felt like someone else was driving my life if I was on medication that was that harsh. It's so unpredictable.
That is
Yeah.
so severe, because I know what it feels like to do those detox, and it's not pleasant. Or that's already not pleasant. So for you to feel like that's okay compared to the reaction you got from that methimazole says a lot. That says a lot.
Yeah. Oh,
so
yeah.
maybe, that makes sense now why you just persevered through it. Just, and not. I feel like the journey of autoimmune is like, it's daily, it's hourly. I could feel so many different emotions in an hour to bring myself out so many times. So it's that constantly recommitting to yourself, constantly telling yourself, you got this, you got this, you got to keep going, hourly, let alone feeling so awful like during those episodes. And then not feeling, you just never really feel well anyway. You've even forgotten what feeling well feels like. So, I mean, committing, I wonder if people listening to this are thinking, why are you asking me to do something that I don't even have the energy to take a shower, let alone commit to something? It could be received quite, negatively in a way as well.
I mean, I think that anybody that's not willing to want to make changes is going to make a commitment. So, we're just saying that if you want to make changes, then it's going to help you by making a commitment. You know what I mean? It's kind of like that. You have to want to make changes first to want the commitment. You're not going to make a commitment and then hope that it's going to make changes. It's not going to work like that. But one thing I do want to clarify is that I know right now I'm sharing my commitment to my health journey and how that looked like, and it seems kind of like boom, boom, boom. I just went through it and did it. But the reality is that was the year that I was diagnosed with Graves. That was in 2017, 2018. Prior to that, I was living with undiagnosed Graves' disease for years. And I was exactly like what you were describing, that autoimmune feeling day by day, that struggle. I had dealt with that for years, easily 5 years in a row without changes, easily. Okay.
Because you didn't know
where I was
you
just
had
stagnant. It. Exactly. I didn't know. So when I was diagnosed, you have to realize that I already had this history of stagnant health, stagnant life, stagnant, not like of nothing. Nothing was moving forward. I was just existing. And that's one of the worst feelings to have, where the only ability you can contribute to life is just to exist. coexist. That's it. Like
But that's how you feel with Graves' disease.
That's how I had to survive, right? I had my commitment to my job. I gave all of my energy to that. And then everything else was just, I'm coexisting. And I knew that life already. So when I was diagnosed with Graves, to me, it just gave me this very clear answer. And that it just made me know exactly where to focus. And then of course, all the experiences that I had along the way helped shape what I was going to do, helped shape my commitment and stuff like that. But yeah, it wasn't like I just didn't feel well. I got diagnosed and then I just said, okay, I'm going to change things. I was sick for many, many years and I knew I should be making changes because I remember I tried gluten-free diets and I was sick with it for a little bit. And then it was just, okay, going back to what I know, or I would do regular exercise or, but I was doing it more for fun or just for, not really for health, just for movement or for an activity to do, a social activity to do. But then I was still eating very poorly. My health wasn't really, like something I saw. I just was trying to do things that I think would make me feel better, but I was looking at it as a short-term, like feel good experience and not so much of, no, we're going to be cleaning up, making changes. You're committing to this exercise routine. You're committing to this diet. You're going to wait it out, and at least do 3+ months of changes. So yeah, I just want to say that I know what it feels like when you're kind of stuck. And I think it's easy to fall back on the things because in one way or another, you already know how to exist with your autoimmunity in your life, right? You already know that balance, even though it's not good. You know how to get through day to day with that balance. So that's the biggest challenge, is having to change that to this unknown. And then with the hopes of getting better. And also those unknowns can bring worse days, make you feel worse than when you were already just coexisting with autoimmunity.
I'm so glad you clarified that because it even helped me understand. And I already know your journey, so it helped me understand it even more. So before then, it was, I don't know what's wrong with me. I just feel awful all the time. Let me try a little bit of this diet. Let me try a little bit of that exercise. And it was, but then once you were diagnosed, it was right. It was like, right, I am committing like 100% to my overall health. So
yeah,
it was almost like you're an arrow that would like fall back for so long. And then as soon as you got that diagnosis, it was like this release and focus.
Yeah.
That arrow hit the nail on the head.
Target, like boom.
The target, yeah. Like, that makes so much sense because to feel awful for so long, I can't imagine feeling awful for so long and not knowing what's wrong with me is, I couldn't imagine a week feeling like that. I felt sick and so awful, but I knew what it was. I knew my diagnosis, so I knew what the enemy was, if that makes sense. But to feel that way and not know what's wrong, oh my goodness, I just cannot.
Yeah.
I would just.
Oh yeah. I spent most of my 20s feeling like that. So a time during, a lot of women are in their prime, I was just existing. So I think that's why now I've really just treasured just the basic day-to-day life and the idea of, now that I have my family, I'm building my family, I'm growing my family. It's just, I don't take that for granted because for a long time, I just felt like none of that was attainable. And now, it's just like, it just is. It's not, no one should ever feel like something so, like your basic rights to want to like build a life, find someone, get married, have children. That shouldn't cost you so much effort. You know what I mean? It shouldn't be. Yeah.
Put everything on hold until that day you feel better again, isn't it? And it's just like life just keeps going, keeps ticking, years keep going. Sometimes, I think to myself, I'm somebody that wanted to be a mother from a very young age. I always knew I wanted to be a mother. That was like get married and definitely just wanted to nurture. I'm such a nurturing person. And I think sometimes I think to myself now, I'm like 35. I did not see myself, not starting yet, but because I've been so unwell for so long, I've had to put it off for such a long time, and now it's really niggling at me, and it gives me like anxiety sometimes. And I didn't see it happening this way, so I can imagine a lot of people, feeling similar, different things that they wanted in life, and they just had to park it until they, could figure out how to feel better. This is why we're doing this podcast. It's such an all-consuming disease that only people that have it understand. And it's not easy, and it's the chronic nature of it, and that's why it's so important to have something that you can fall back on, that you can look at, that you could keep that just keeps you going. Creating a commitment manifesto or empowerment manifesto to yourself, honoring yourself, and because it's just you're on this journey, you're alone in a sense. It's you versus you in a way, because you can make yourself feel worse, or you can make yourself feel a little bit better. I don't know if that makes any sense, because you can be your worst enemy. You can do things that is going to trigger something if you don't look after yourself. You can I don't know. I don't know if that one makes any sense. I feel like it is you versus you, because you can be your best friend or your worst enemy in a way.
100%. It is you versus you.
Yeah. Okay. I'm glad that makes sense.
Yeah. Because it's your decisions. It is it's what you make of it. And another thing that I want to mention too is like, you have to meet yourself where you are at, and start on that specific place. I know we're sharing a lot of our personal experiences and stuff like that, but they're very different, because like, for example, I was giving you the reason why I was able to go through so many changes, because I had that bad experience with methimazole. There are many people who take methimazole and don't have that reaction. So you have to kind of take things and make sure that it's about your personal experience, and you have to start with that. And you have to do what's best with you. So let's say, you're someone who does well on methimazole. And, if you go to my Instagram account, I have a lot of information out there. But for example, taking selenium and vitamin D will significantly help you go into remission faster than just taking methimazole alone. Take that information. If that's the path you're going on, optimize it. Do integrative medicine and optimize it and start there. I think that the problem that many women who have come and share their stories with me is that they want to do just one thing that will solve it all. And it's not going to be one thing ever. Autoimmunity, it's not just one root cause triggers. There are layers upon layers that can trigger autoimmunity. So to do just one change, or I know the idea of it is probably the best case scenario. You can do one thing and it fixes it all, but most likely it's not going to be that simple. So, but wherever you're at, just optimize that plan.
It's a lifestyle disease. Let me tell you now that basically if this is a lifestyle disease, then you are going to have to change yourself 360 degrees. It's like going to be a new life. Literally, you cannot go back to the old ways. And that's the hard thing to commit to, because for so long you've been doing so many things that have made you who you are. And it's almost like you're a new person now because of this disease. And if you carry on with the old you're not going to progress. You need to now change so many aspects, but it doesn't mean, oh my God, like, how am I going to change so many things? I'm already like so exhausted. I'm so fatigued. I can't do all that. I'm talking little things like sleeping on time, being hydrated, getting sunlight, going for walks. I'm sure before that, it's stuff that people maybe didn't do all the time, but now you have to commit to it consistently. In order to push your body to a healthier state. Like, your body is malnutrition. That's when I heard that, it made sense to me. So it's going to take like a lot of effort just to, consistent little effort, if that makes sense. It's little things every day that is going to help you long run. So it's those But whereas before you didn't have to really commit to anything, you didn't have to do all these little commitments, but all the little things matter. And if all the little things matter, then you need to make sure that all the little things that you're doing is progressing you forward on your health. So, once in a while having sugar is not going to help you. You're going to have to literally commit to zero sugar. If that's your journey, like for me, I don't have sugar. It doesn't help. I've done all the research on it, and I feel sick if I do have it now, and I feel better for not having it. You need to figure out what it is that you need to change for you. Gluten. I remember that is a really hard one, because I watch so many cooking shows, or when we go traveling or wherever. This is the hardest one for me that I'm still figuring out. But I've done it in the past where I'm like, oh, it's in front of, like, okay, let me just have a little bit, it'll be okay. Nope. It's never okay. I suffer for it. And then it got to the point where I suffered so much for this gluten, whatever it was, the croissant or this or that. I thought, oh my God, it's not worth it. It's just not worth it. It's literally not worth it. Did I have to suffer to learn that? No, but it's not easy to change so many aspects of yourself. I get that. 100% get that. But you have to realize that you matter more than this thing. So that's why when I don't have all these gluten things, people are like, come on, it's just a little pizza. It's the best pizza ever. Can you not just have a little bit? And you're constantly fighting people. And each time you're fighting and saying no is you committing to yourself. But the time that you're just like, okay, actually, is the time you're not looking after yourself and not committing to yourself, and you're hurting yourself. I don't want to hurt myself. It's not what I want. Exactly. It's my choice, right? It's your choice. That's what I mean by it's you versus you. So it's the choices that you're making. So that's why you're constantly committing to you, to just you.
Exactly. And one thing I want to say to you is the commitment to make changes doesn't have to look like going cold turkey. So there's this method called the add in. Instead of taking out, you just add in. And so let's say part of your goal is to up your greens and to implement more salads, more protein. And so your approach can be to just add in those things first, get that stuff in first, and you'll notice that you'll be eating less of the other things because you're filling yourself up with those foods that you're trying to incorporate more of. And sometimes mentally that can help you feel less discouraged because you're not thinking, oh, I just have to eliminate everything. And little by little, you're creating this habit, this good habit. And once you get that habit stabilized, you're going to maybe look back and realize, oh, wow, I'm not eating, my morning toast or my evening, muffin or this or whatever it is, or your go-to gluten or your pasta or whatever it is. Because you're filling up on those other foods that you've been wanting to incorporate. So there's always that approach too. So I know with the health journey, I know for me too, it's hard because I went cold turkey and I know that, people think, okay, if that's what you did and you got these results, then I have to go cold turkey. But if you can do it, do it. I just feel like the main goal is to be able to sustain the changes you're making. So if you're going cold turkey and you're feeling more miserable and you're feeling like your will is like fizzling out like a flame, that's not the approach. It's okay to what's the word? It's okay to get a new game plan going, to come back and say, okay, I tried this. It's not working. I'm feeling depleted. I'm feeling more stressed. It's stressing me out. I'm thinking about food all the time. Or, it's okay to regroup, create a new game plan and say, okay, maybe I'm going to need right now to focus on substitutes or do the add in. Just make changes where you can sustain them. That's the key, sustainable changes. Not just like, this isn't a detox program where you're going to just do for 2 weeks and then, be done with it and walk away. And I think a lot of people look at these changes temporarily like that. They think, okay, I'm going to commit to this for a month And then hopefully I'll have the results or the expectation that they're going to have these amazing results. They get to the month and they realize maybe there's been little results. Maybe they feel good, but their thyroid levels haven't completely changed and they get discouraged and then they know they can't do it anymore because it wasn't sustainable to begin with. So yeah, that would be probably one of my tips for the commitment manifesto is to make sustainable changes. And that's going to look different per individual. But yeah.
That's such a good one. And I like that. I like that because anything that simplifies the journey is welcome because it's so overwhelming, so much information overload and everything. So I like that fact of just adding and then just all you're doing is continuously are adding all these good things to the point that you've got you're not even thinking about having or doing all these other things that you used to do. I like that. I can put my hand up and say I am that person that always does this cold turkey thing and it never works. never works. And each time my husband just looks at me when I'm just like, with my like a puppy with the tail between their legs. It didn't work, did it? No. So don't you think you should be kind to yourself? Yeah.
You see?
And I'm like, yeah. And then I'll do it again. I'm like, then you rev up that engine and then you're like, no, I need to go all in. Yeah, no sugar. And it's awful. It doesn't work for me. It doesn't work for me. But then doing the little things, I stopped after hurting myself so many times. I stopped and I did it little by little. So that's what worked for me.
Yes.
And to put it into context, I was the person, this is an embarrassing story to share. Is it embarrassing? We'll see. When I was first diagnosed with Graves' disease, I did not understand this disease at all. And I got the eye bulge bit. Not as bad as I've seen other people have it, but it did come out. And I was that type where I thought, it's okay. All I need to do is, I bought some kind of ointment on Amazon that like reduces, I don't know what on earth. And I thought, quick fix, just keep putting this cream on every night. Just keep putting this cream on every night. So I'm that type, and then it didn't work. And then it was try something else. There's an even more embarrassing story actually. It just came to mind, but I'm not going to share that. that one. But I'm the type that would always keep trying like all these different things and not commit to anything long term. Does that make sense? Like just short. For so many years, it's just now that I've realized that you need to commit long term. This is a long term thing. Like literally you're entering into a marriage with yourself, a healthy marriage with yourself. It's a lifestyle disease and you need to do all these little changes consistently for a long period of time. This is it. That's what I've learned. So, if you're like me,
sustainable changes.
Sustainable. It's not easy. That's why this topic of commitment is so hard but I've got to a stage where I'm so proud of myself. I'm really, really so proud of myself. But it took therapy as well, to help me as well along on this journey. Not specifically for Graves' disease, it was just in general, but there was aspects where I was learning that I wasn't looking after myself by eating things that I knew had dairy or, just because they want to offend somebody, things like that. Not prioritizing my needs. Loads of aspects of not prioritizing self, not looking after myself, always thinking of others. And if you can relate to that, you have to now learn to look after yourself. That's what you're really committing to, I think. It can be a beautiful journey, but it's challenging, and it's commitment fatigue. That's what I really wanted to talk about. You get that all the time. I'm not sure if you went through commitment fatigue, but I go through it so often, and that's why I'm gonna share like my commitment manifesto, and you could follow the templates. You could create your own ones so that when you do have that commitment fatigue, you're re-inspiring yourself to carry on again. Because it's a long-term thing. I think everybody who's on the journey is going to get commitment fatigue, right?
Yeah, I think that's why you have to know part of the commitment is knowing your goals. You have to know your goals to why you're making this commitment. If you're just making commitments to just feeling better, but you're not really having specifics, like for me, like I mentioned, I knew I was going to focus on my overall health. And I had very specific things in each area, personal goals, like being outdoors, like there's very specific goals, my finances, my career. Okay, this is how I want to focus here on this area. This is how I want to focus here on this other area. I had very specific goals for each area of my life that I wanted to make changes in. So I think that sometimes if you just have a blanket statement of, I just want to get well, but you're not really giving yourself specific goals, then you're going to have commitment fatigue because it's going to feel overwhelming. It's just like, well, what does it mean? So you need to focus on things specifically that are a direct link to your well-being. So like, if you feel like you're getting a lot of peer pressure from friends when you're going out to eat bad, then I want to say your social life, you need to look at what are your goals for your social life, because that's causing some type of impact. The food decision is separate. The social pressure, that's another thing. So that's kind of how I would categorize social life, personal life, family life, work life. Then you have your diet, you have your sleep, your natural pillars of health. And then you have to combine all of that and see what can you improve in each area. But I want to know what your commitment manifesto is. I want to hear. Yes, I want to hear it.
You know what? When I like I said, I'm a try and fix it type of person. I need something's going on. How do I fix it? How do I navigate around this? So when I had this was like in 2020 when I had the time actually to figure out like my health and everything. I created digital journals for my own autoimmune wellness. So it was little things like having me time, being my own rescue, sleep. I created all these journals for me to help me like little bit by little bit, like just 10 minutes a day, get myself back on track. But when I did that, I thought, you know what? I need to commit to this. I can't, because I wasn't very good at like keeping up with that, even if just 10 minutes a day. Sometimes I go, well, this, that. I realized you really have to commit. That's the first step on to anything that you're beginning. So I created a commitment to self principle for myself. And as I was creating it, I started off thinking, do you know what stops people? What stops me is triggers. I have triggers. So it's like you have to write down your triggers so that when it comes, it's like, you know what the enemy looks like. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like first writing your triggers, and I took myself through this journey, and then I ended up writing my commitment to health manifesto. So I thought that's really relevant to this topic that we were talking about. So I truly understand it. I have two. I have one that I wrote in this principle, and then I have one that's like a lengthy one that I think it will serve as a template for people, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I'll just read out the one I wrote in my principle, and I'll leave the principle if anybody wants to download it in the show notes. So this is part of the step 3 of my principle. So it says, use the next page to write an empowerment manifesto that you will sign and date and promise to uphold. Whenever you feel low, read your commitment to self-empowerment manifesto to remind yourself that you can and will take your health into your hands. Words are power, so dig deep and allow your own words to heal you. Here is an example of mine to help you. So this is what I wrote. It's so I wrote, I'm one of a kind, I live bright. I live to inspire and to be inspired, and I strive every day to live from my heart. I stay strong and full of faith no matter what I'm going through. I know it will be a tough road ahead, but I'm determined to take control of my health and well-being no matter what. One small step at a time is all it takes. I show up for myself and my health. I am strength, beauty, and a hero to myself. My health is in my hands. So
that's so cute.
That's the one thing that I wrote. And then I know, just reading that going, I need to read that a lot more often. So this is why I didn't have it. That's why I'm glad that we're bringing it up.
Put it somewhere where you can see daily, right? Like print it out and put it up somewhere where you can see.
Exactly. And then I have a more lengthy one that if people want to structure it, So that one is just like a short one, and then this one is more lengthy, you know, when you really need that oomph. So I'll just I'll quickly read that. So this one is: I, Meron, hereby commit to prioritizing my health and well-being as a cornerstone of my life. I acknowledge that good health is the foundation upon which I can build a more fulfilling and purpose-driven existence. And it's 12 things, it's 12 steps. So it's 1, positivity. I will maintain a positive mindset, embracing challenges as opportunities for growth and learning. 2, resilience. I will cultivate resilience, bouncing back from setbacks with determination and grace. 3, self-compassion. I will practice self-compassion, treating myself with the same kindness I offer to others. 4, balanced diet. I will nourish my body and with proper hydration and a balanced diet that is suitable for me. I will engage in regular physical activity that I enjoy, whether it's walking, dancing, cycling, or any other form of exercise. I think that was 5 actually. 5 is exercise. 6 is consistency. I will commit to consistency in my fitness routine, understanding that small, consistent efforts yield significant results. Then self-care. I will prioritize self-care, including meditation, mindfulness, or relaxation techniques to maintain mental well-being. Next one, seeking support, which is important. I will not hesitate to seek professional help or confide in friends and family when facing mental health challenges. And the next one is quality sleep. I will prioritize quality sleep, aiming for 7 to 9 hours of restful sleep each night. The next one is bedtime routine. I will establish a calming bedtime routine to improve the quality of my sleep. So the next one is supportive network. I will nurture and value relationships with those who support my health journey. It's very important because toxic people or negative energy can really bring you down. Boundaries, huge thing that I learned. They're one of the best things I ever learned, but later on in life. I will set healthy boundaries to protect my well-being and maintain a positive social environment. And then lastly, setting goals. I will set realistic health goals and celebrate achievements along the way. And then I say, I commit to my health manifesto, understanding that my health is a lifelong journey. I embrace the power of small, consistent steps and the potential for transformation that comes with dedication and perseverance. By living in accordance with this manifesto, I strive to lead a life of vitality, purpose, and fulfillment. Signed, Meron.
Yeah.
That's more lengthy.
That sounds so nice. You know what I was imagining? I mean,
Yeah.
I think this can be a movement. I think you can do like your reel, do an Instagram reel of you just reading it out loud, your manifesto. And if anybody is listening to this, I encourage you, where can they go to get this manifesto? I'm sure you'll add a link, right, to the template or something.
This template, I could figure that out. But this one is just a template. It's not part of the principle that I created, but I can add it. Or I can just add it as a template that people can just download, right?
Yeah.
So they can add in each step what they think.
I think that is great. And if you guys want to like do your, I think there's something very powerful when you're reading it out loud and saying it almost like the way that you're saying it to me. There's something so powerful to that because you're saying it out loud. And I think that sometimes you need to hear it out loud. You need to hear yourself saying this. And because, it's very easy just to read it mentally and sign it and do stuff like that. But yeah, that'd be cool if you guys can do like a video of making this commitment, tag us, and just, it's about having and reminding yourself, like, this is why I'm doing this, and I'm sure it's like easy to tweak or add on more to that commitment. Anything that you feel like is more specific to your health, any health challenges that you have, you can write more specific commitment goals to it. But yeah, that was really touching. It was really nice to hear that.
Yeah. That's why it really rings true to me that the commitment topic is so important. This is where it begins. This is where it begins. And then this is what's going to carry you through all of it. And I think just saying it in front of a mirror, let's say you just do it like every Sunday evening, because obviously you might have had a really tough week, now you need to recalibrate, reflect, and everything, and then commit again. And then it gets to the point where you do it daily, you know. And then it starts to seep into your subconscious, and then you become your words. I think words are so powerful. I'm a words person. Books, reading, affirmations, anything to do with words. I love words, and I think you have to immerse yourself in all the. That's why the people around you, you need to be careful. Other people that are bringing you down or saying anything negative, because it all matters. Just especially if you're on this health journey, then you need to create those boundaries and create that happy state for yourself, and have this commitment to health manifesto to help you. It's just you helping you, isn't it? Again, it's like you holding your own hand in this journey. I think it's very important. You know what? Just to add, I was reading a book called The Happiest Man Alive. I have it here, The Happiest Man on Earth, and it's about the concentration camps in Auschwitz. And I've read a few books on it, and what I find interesting in all these stories that these courageous people have shared is they said that in those concentration camps, the people who said, I'm not going to make it, literally didn't make it. The people that told themselves every day, I'm going to survive, like every day they kept telling themselves they're going to survive, made it to the end. And it's in one of the books, it's called The Choice by Edith Eger. But she said that when she was in the female camps, one of the women started to crumble, and she said, I'm not going to make it past Christmas. I'm not going to make it past Christmas. I'm not going to. And she kept saying it to herself. And then what happened? Literally the day after Christmas, she died. And that's, Edith was right saying that, that's how powerful words are. Yeah. It is your will. Are you feeding your will to survive? Or are you making yourself decline? And I remember again in my journey, it was that perspective shift from that nurse saying, well, what was this here to teach you? What's the value in the valley? Having that perspective shift gave me the new lease on life. How was it? I was so sick before. And then now that I have like a different way of thinking, it's made me less sick than I was. This is the power of your thoughts, words. So you need to create these words to empower yourself so that you are the ones that are going to survive through this and thrive in life, not exist. We don't want to exist. A life of chronic illness is not an option. I keep saying it. I'm going to put it on a t-shirt. It's not an option. It can't be. It's just not. Don't allow these thoughts to drag you down. It's just not an option. Surround yourself with like positive words. It's more than positive thinking, though, isn't it? It's just more than that. It's like something deep within your will. It's like your will. That's how they survive, like the hell on earth. Hell on earth was their will to survive through it. Their will, and we all have that will. And it's just igniting it. Even when you feel like you can't get out of bed and you are struggling. I know that feeling. Of being bedridden. So what do? I do is I put something on in the background that's positive. It could be a doctor that I really like, and he's just talking about positive ways of healing. Whatever it is, I just immerse my room with words when I'm feeling so low. I just, because it will seep into my subconscious, and then my subconscious will fight for me, even when I can't. So that's, yeah, I hope today's episode was really helpful for anybody.
Yeah. And one thing real quick I want to mention is that the commitment is something that is daily, because every day is a new day and every day has its set of challenges and unpredictability. So that's why I think it is important to have something visually that you can look at or remind yourself, because it is a day-to-day decision, which is why words matter. Which is why what you say to yourself matters, because it will become a self-fulfilling prophecy, like what you are constantly telling yourself. So yeah, really quickly to just kind of wrap things up, I wanted to share, back in 2021, I wrote a blog called My Top 5 Tips of What I Wish I Knew Before Starting My Holistic Journey. But I think that these tips are going to help anyone who is making these commitments and who has, signed a commitment manifesto or is doing that, to understand how that journey may look like, so you don't get discouraged or don't want to commit to it anymore, to the health journey. So my first tip is that holistic healing, if you are doing integrative healing, the same thing, should always be done under a supervision of a medical professional. So when you're making these commitment and making these changes, it's kind of like what you're saying, like, don't be afraid to seek help, whether that's mental help, medical help. Use your resources. Make sure that you are being wise, because Graves' disease and any autoimmunity issues, there can be many issues that can suddenly take a turn. And making changes can trigger it could trigger you feeling worse. So it's just always, it's always important to be monitored so you can see how those changes are affecting your health journey. And we always talk about my tip number 2. We always mention this in our podcast, but never compare your health journey to any other person. So while you're making this commitment, remember it's unique. This commitment to your health journey is unique to you. Don't compare it to what other people are doing or what has been successful for other people. Just, we say, stay in your lane. Tip number 3, the goal is to become an expert on yourself and to learn your root cause triggers that led to your diagnosis. Let that be a focus throughout your health journey. Even if you feel like you're not moving, quickly toward any health goal you want, just realize that you're discovering your root causes. And that is going to be, always, I don't want to say it could be a consuming process, but just realize autoimmune diseases are unknown. So anytime that you can discover root cause triggers, it's very important to be patient with that process. And then be persistent. Don't give up. It's going to take time, consistency, and commitment, which is kind of what we just talked about overall. And my tip number 5 is slow and steady wins the race. So you kind of mentioned this as well, as small steps make huge quantum leaps for healing. So don't think of anything, don't minimize anything or any changes that you're making. It's going to have an impact. And I have this link. It goes way more into detail. We can add it down below or something if you want to read it. But yeah, it just kind of gives you 2 perspectives, your starting commitment manifesto, and then kind of my personal experience of what I wish I knew from the start to help, that would have helped me have less double guessing myself or less discouragement throughout the health journey. And I figured if anybody is starting this health journey, that those two pieces of information can be helpful.
Oh, that was so lovely. Yeah, exactly. That was a perfect way to just round it up as well. So you've got the tools now. You've got the tools now to hopefully start and go forward and have a positive, healthy health journey for yourself. So, thank you. Thanks for listening.
Yeah. Bye, everybody.
Thank you guys so much for joining us in season 2. We love having these conversations, and we hope that they continue, whether they're in this little corner of the internet or in your home. We really invite you guys to continue having these conversations. And that's going to be a wrap for our season 2. And then, Miriam, do you want to add some more to it?
Yeah, just a massive thank you again for everybody coming on this journey. I love watching, seeing how many of you have interacted with our polls and sent us messages, or how many countries that, it's spreading. It's so fascinating to see.
Yeah.
And we hope that we've helped somebody in some small way, because we're still figuring it out just as much as you are, and hoping to shed some light of being a place of inspiration, a safe space. That's what we've always tried to be. So that's a wrap for season 2, just in time for Christmas. We don't know what the new year holds. We might have a bit of a pause for season 3, but we will let you know if season 3 is coming up. There might be a bit of a long pause for that, or we might not have a season 3 at all. I'm not quite sure, but we'll keep you posted.
I think too, I feel like you and I unloaded so much having these conversations with season 1 and season 2. I kind of feel like every single time we step away from an episode, we have so much to kind of reflect, and we're implementing in our own lives. So it's just a lot going on, and life is happening. So yeah, season 3, it's going to be a little bit of a pause, but we would love to continue on with it. So yeah, but we're so thankful for the
first 2 seasons that we did. So helpful, right? Like you always say that you mention back to them, and I always listen to them too, and it gives us such a unique perspective, I think, like when you sit back and listen to it. So
absolutely. And the only thing I would ask is if you could give us a 5-star rating on Spotify, so because we're really trying to spread the word here and shine a light on Graves' disease. Please help us do that, please, by putting a 5-star, writing a review, taking part in a poll, sharing it with somebody that you think it will help. That will do wonders. So in the meantime, if you could help us grow this community, I'll be forever grateful. And thank you so much. Have an amazing 2024, a healthy, prosperous 2024, and look forward to hearing from you all.
bye.
That is the end of this week's Thyroid Sisters Navigate Graves' Disease podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. We hope you found it useful and enjoyable. Please do follow and subscribe to our podcast so that you are the first to hear about new episodes.
And if you're enjoying them, please leave us a 5-star rating, as this will help us so much. The bigger the show gets, the bigger the awareness raised.
You can find us on social media using the handle @lovingmekindly and also the handle @healing_unapologetically. Until next time.